Hi, Daniel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too. Yeah, I have a little bit of a hangover, but I'm fine. It's cool. Yeah, so today I would like to share with you a story. So, as we were talking before
hmm
starting the recording, I was telling you about my
Yeah.
crazy week.
You've broken the fourth wall.
Yeah. So, I had this crazy week. I feel like I feel like I'm a college student with my 31 years old. Yeah, it was an amazing week though. I had many insightful conversations with my friends as we were drinking wine and listening to Brazilian music. It was pretty amazing this week. So one of the conversations, so I have this friend that is an amazing and special friend, and unfortunately he lost his mother due to COVID. Due to, is it correct? He lost
Yeah,
his mother
that's
due to
correct.
COVID. Cool, cool, not cool, cool that I
I
got it
get it.
right. Um, so yeah, so this friend he came up with this concept. He came up with a word in Portuguese with a neologism to say that he uses. I wouldn't even know how to translate this to English, but it is a concept of talking. So it's like whenever he invites people in, he would send them, like maybe what we do here, like I do that with my students at least. Sometimes I would send them an article or a YouTube video, and then I would ask them to watch, and then that topic would be up for
hmm
discussion. So he would send his friends that, and he would invite different people who don't know each other, and he would say, so read this, listen to this, and then come over, we will have dinner and we will talk about that. And I love that. So he did the same. He came here to give me one of his mother's plants.
Sorry.
You
Oh my
okay?
God.
You okay?
Yeah, sorry. The music. Also, music. Just like I stretched my hands and I mistakenly pressed the play button on
Okay.
my computer here. So sorry.
Okay. Okay. So he invited himself in because he wanted me to bring one of his mother's plants that he's donating now to people. And then
What you to bring? Sorry.
to bring me one of his mother's plants,
hmm
a cactus.
hmm
Yeah, it was actually my first plant. I'm very happy with it. Yeah, but yeah, so he sent me a podcast up front and told me, listen to this, and then I'll come over, I'll go there, and we
Come
can.
over, was
Okay, I'll come over and we are going to discuss this podcast. And I was like, oh, cool, fine. It's so like him to do this. So I started listening to the podcast in the minutes we have like between lessons. And as I started listening, I was like, wow, that's actually really deep stuff. It was a podcast about loneliness, about how we are seemingly connected. We are living the times like where people are more connected ever in the history, but
Where
still
people are the most connected
most connected. Thank you. We are like most connected
than ever in history.
than ever in history. Thank you. But we are still feeling lonely. So there was uh, an institute who ran an interview in 28 countries.
The
Iptus,
survey.
a survey. Yes, a survey. They would ask people how they feel, if they feel lonely, and the numbers were shocking. But so, for example, in Brazil is the country where people feel like the most lonely in the
Okay.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and half of the people in Brazil feel lonely. So
Yeah.
it's 100 million people, but the results are not accurate because to talk about loneliness is a sort of like a taboo. People don't want to admit that they feel lonely because that would imply that they would think that they're not, by admitting it, they are not lovable, they failed, no one cares about them. There are a lot of things that would come with this
Realization.
realization. Thank you.
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, realization. Thank you, Daniel. So actually, when they run this kind of survey, they have to ask about loneliness, but without using certain words. They have to ask other kinds of questions, so they would have like more accurate results. And there is, so the episode is very interesting. So they say, for example, that we would know the faces of 1,050 hundreds people. We could.
Sorry, repeat the number. Sorry.
Oh meu Deus! Oh my God. 1,050 hundreds of people.
No, that is not. So 1,050 hundred. No, it's like 15,000. 1,500.
1,500. Yeah.
Yeah.
1,500. Yeah. So we could recognize as faces of that amount of people. We
Right.
could have 1,500 acquaintances. We could
500.
what did I say?
5,000.
Oh my Jesus. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh my Jesus. I've never actually spoken. Oh my Jesus.
That's
All right.
Portuguese. So
Right.
we could have
500.
500 acquaintances. 150 is the number of people we would invite to a party. 50 people, the number we would invite to a dinner in our houses. 15 people are the number of people we would share something private. But we would have only 5 people in our, like, people that would support, that would come to rescue us. Like,
Right.
if we were having a heart attack in the middle of the night, 5 people is usually the number you could call to. But he said in the podcast, the guy, don't be surprised if you realize that you might not even have 5 people, or if you realize that people you consider to be a great friend of yours or someone from your family, they wouldn't make it to the top 5. You like them, but they're not the people that you could call to. And so my friend came, and then we started a whole conversation about this topic of loneliness, how we are not, even though we are connected to people, they are numbers. So his mother passed away, and he told some people that he considered to be his friends to go to the funeral. And actually, no one came. Actually, one came, a person who lived 200 kilometers away. He drove here. But the other people, they would just, oh, my condolences. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I would love to go, but actually I have something going on tomorrow. And then he said, it was the most difficult day of my life. And people who actually knew my mom, who lived in the same neighborhood, they could drop by, or they could at least come up with a better excuse than, oh, sorry, I can't, I have something. Oh, sorry, my condolences. Oh, that sucks. And that actually he decided to reframe like the list that he had, like the friends that he considered real friends. And actually he discovered that he only have one or two. He only had one or two. And even though he didn't know if he could call them in the middle of the night if something happened. So I was thinking about this topic, like how we know a lot of people, we can call and we can have drinks with people and travel with them and talk on, I don't know, WhatsApp, Messenger. We can talk to people, but that doesn't really mean that we are creating bonds with them. And so I wanted to ask you actually, what do you think about what I just told you? How do you see this topic of connecting with people as living in a country that is different from yours? I traveled once to a different country, and I couldn't really connect with the people there. They were so different from I don't want to say my people, but they were different from Brazilians and how we interact. And how, if you don't think that's too personal, if you feel lonely, because I do. Yeah.
If I feel lonely, to answer the last question first, I don't really do anything because it's probably not the best thing, but I don't want to not feel lonely and not go through feeling lonely and not understand what it is to be lonely and like survive that. Just know that okay, you're lonely and you'll be fine tomorrow. So if I do feel lonely, I don't try to like get someone to be by my side to make me feel less lonely or something. I just feel lonely and hopefully I'll come out of it and keep moving, get and keep it moving. About connecting, yes, it is quite difficult for me because I'm here in large part because I'm being here. And also just based on my character, I may seem like a very outgoing person or
Mhm.
very communicative or something, but I'm not. I don't have a lot of. I really am
Really?
not. Yeah, I'm
Really?
not. Really, I am. I'm not. I
I,
don't have a
I
lot of friends.
I cannot get out of my mind the time you told me that you will make an effort to talk to people on dates. I
Yes,
love that. You
I,
just,
no, because no, I don't have the emotional energy or the amount of like interaction that is needed to connect with many people. So
yeah.
I personally, I know for a fact that I have only one person outside of my family that I could call if I needed, if I was in a jam, and I could trust that that person would be there for me. I know that for a fact, and I'm not. And maybe it's dangerous because what if that person isn't there for me? I don't have another person, but I don't have the emotional energy to do what it takes to make that connection
Yeah.
or to interact with more people and form a bond strong enough that it has trust in it. And I think that it's just a very difficult thing to do. And that's why a lot of human beings haven't done it. Also, it's a very, very tough responsibility to put on another person
Yeah.
to be there. But that's why even if I know that I know one person that I feel like I can trust to be there for me, I will never put it on them to be there for me,
Cool.
except I really have to. Because it's a
Mhm.
huge responsibility that even as people, we don't know how to face. I have a friend, and if he got into some kind of situation, I would do my best to be there for him. But I don't know how I'll react to the pain or whatever situation that is, because it is very difficult for you to like put yourself in that position and really be there to support, even if you want to support. Because even the simplest things, we just don't know what to say sometimes when something bad happens. We don't know how to console people. We don't know how to take care of people.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say just be there, and you can be there, but you notice that there should be more, there should be something, and we just don't know what to do. If somebody writes me and tells me of a tragedy in their life, I say sorry. Sorry is empty, it doesn't really do anything for them, but that's really what I can say from the bottom of my heart, that I know what to say. Because what do I begin to say? Oh, it's for there's always some good thing that can come out of this. So all of that is unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because the honest thing is, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. All I feel right at that moment is sympathy, and my reaction is, or my response to that is sorry, and that's the most that I can do in a lot of cases. So it's a huge responsibility to create, to put on people to be your friends that you can trust, and
You
even
can.
for people to put it on you. I
Yeah.
feel to be a friend that can be trusted, because trust is a big thing. And it does take a lot more than a lot of people think, because you have a lot of friends, that people that you call and that you write or whatever, but it does take a lot more to be able to actually rely on somebody.
Yeah.
And that is why it's fine to go for drinks with 10 people every week, but still you don't just trust them. because it's just not that easy. It's not how much you laugh. You should be able to feel pain with a person. The person should be able to see your pain, see you bear, kind of like see you really, to be able to develop a bond that you guys can call like trust. And so it's such a huge responsibility. And I know that I know people, I've hung out with people, but I know I cannot be that person for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be, it's unfortunate. I would try my best, but really a lot of times my best is really not enough at all. And it's not, it just, and that is the thing, it's just not enough. And also a lot of times as a person, I know that my best, it's not enough. And so I don't want to put myself in that situation where I will have to try my best. So when someone writes me that something bad has happened, I say sorry, and that's it.
Yeah.
With some of my friends in the past, I've gone to meet the person, I've hugged the person or whatever, but I don't really know what to do. And when you've been put in that place of real trust and real reliance, that is when those little things matter, when the hugging matters, when just the sitting next to the person matters. But it's not, you cannot really form that kind of bond with everybody. And that's why one person could be enough, and that is it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it can be lonely. It is lonely, and we all get lonely a lot of times. Because even if you marry someone and you believe that's the love of your life, you will get lonely because you're not going to sew the person to yourself and be joined also in the mind. You will have loneliness up here, and you will look around and you will feel something, and nobody will be there for you at that point. But you be lonely. And also, and with the connection, yes, you can meet many people, but it is very difficult to form a trust, like to form a trusting relationship with a person. And it cannot be one-sided, unfortunately. You cannot trust someone and just expect that because you trust the person should also like trust you, or the person should be willing to give their trust to you. It doesn't work like that. So it really does take a lot. And I don't think that that is a responsibility that I can put on many people,
Yeah.
on more than on many people, but that is a responsibility I can take from many people. So I'm in that situation where I don't have 20 people to call if something bad happens to me. I can write one person. And whatever that person says is usually enough. And that's it.
Amazing. Amazing. Wow, I love how you think. Wow, Daniel. I was making some notes here as you were saying, as you were talking. Um, I could talk about that for hours, and I did with my friend. We talked about that for 4 hours. We cried a little as we were talking.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
sad.
it is sad, yeah. So one thing that I think, I mean, most people, they're not willing to be vulnerable, and they're not willing to be tolerant. So in order to create these bonds, we need to exercise the muscles of tolerance and vulnerability. And so most people, they won't leave their ways, like they won't change their paths to be with another human being, because maybe they think it's too difficult, or maybe it is like a responsibility or an uncomfortable situation that they've never been in before, and it feels like scary. But actually, for me now, if someone calls me with a problem, I don't feel the necessity of saying anything, because we were right. We don't have much to say other than sorry, but we could definitely sit with them in silence, and hope for that to be enough. And it usually is, because I think that love, it's equals time, the time you give to someone. So
But I could ask you, if something bad happened now and you told a couple of your friends, right? The ones that you consider close friends and the ones you just consider friends, and one of those people with whom you don't have like the closest bond with, you don't have like a very very like close tight relationship with, one of those people you don't trust really, comes to you and just is there with you, will that make you feel better?
right now, I'm in the moment where I have a therapist, and that was like the best thing that I have ever done for myself. I don't need to talk to my friends about the deepest and darkest things that go through my soul like I used to do in the past. So I feel like my therapist is someone I can trust and count to go through pain and difficult moments. So I'll go to him. But with friends, what I actually want from them, what I would actually of them, I would expect of them is
Good.
to sit, yeah, and have a glass of wine. I can talk about bad things in a very joyful way now. I can laugh at my problems and at the atrocities that lives throw at me now. I mean, most of the thing
Life through. Sorry.
life throws. But let's imagine like the worst situation, like if I lost someone, like if a family member would pass, it just sit with me and I consider a privilege to be called by someone. If someone calls you with the problem, I feel like honored. Like if someone opens up, I feel honored. And I mean, of course, we cannot, like you said, we cannot accept that responsibility from many people because we have our lives to live. We have like difficult jobs. We need to do a lot of things. We cannot be that person for everyone. And I feel like if a lot of people are telling you like something like that, something sad happened to them, it's because they feel like you're open and because sometimes people they would have the wrong impression. If we are
Yeah.
very open, they would think maybe they'll feel connected because everyone is basically very lonely and everyone is desperate to connect and to create bonds, but they people might not know how to. So the way that we create, the way that we recognize those people, it's through shared experiences. It's not over the internet. Actually, your friends are the ones with whom you were physically in a like sharing ice cream and sitting in a bench or in the sidewalk, like people who you had some memories like of times, someone you had arguments with, because nowadays people they run from arguments. If a relationship start getting complicated, they leave because they don't want to be, especially over the internet. Like we don't want to be in difficult situations and things.
It
And
is.
yeah, we won't
I was going to
create
say it
bonds
is
that way.
hard, and I think there is also something to consider with. It's another thing that I consider with sharing your pain with people. I do feel like people should have someone that they can share their pain with,
Yeah.
but you do have to, as we looking for those people or our friends that will be there for us through our pain and stuff, we have to consider also the burden it is for someone to bear another person's pain. Because if a friend of mine calls me and says to me that they have lost someone very close to them, I, I don't just forget it like that. Because I love this friend, I begin to take on this person's like pain as well. And I want to be there for that person. My day is, even if the
Yeah.
person is going through something worse, and I'm not saying what I'll be going through will be anything compared to what that person is, but I'm aware of that person's pain and I share that person's pain. That is not the worst thing in life, but that is a difficult thing to put on another person.
Yeah. But
And
Daniel,
and
sorry.
and what that's why, sorry, no, and I'm saying that not to say like we shouldn't or we shouldn't share our pain with people, but I'm saying that to like kind of describe why we cannot have 20 of those people
No, not
or
20.
15 of those people, because you got to know one person well enough. If you have the energy, as I say, the emotional energy to interact with that many people on the same
Mm-mm.
level, by
No.
all means.
Uh,
But if you don't, as normal
yeah,
human beings don't,
it's true.
and you can just have that one person that you know will share this pain and it will be fine, and that you will share their pain, I guess, and you will both feel better together rather than just
Yeah.
putting pain on all people and some people on everyone. And some people have like a very some people have strong empathy and they begin to feel, and it's a lot of, it's a burden, I think,
Yeah.
just these relationships that we create are burdens.
Yeah.
And personally, when I think of having a close friend, I just cannot have like five close friends like people
No,
do.
I understand. No, I understand. No, I don't think it's possible to have and to dedicate your time to that many people. 5, it's a high number.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But but no, it's important to find. I think just because we cannot like necessarily, I don't want to say we need, but I think it's important to have somebody that you can just rest your head on their shoulders, like just they will just comfort you. And another problem is a lot of people find that in like a partner or whatever, but that can be your friend.
Yeah.
It can be anybody, and that may contribute to why a lot of people never get like over their loneliness because they have friends that they could connect with, but they're looking for a partner or a lover or whatever
Yeah, it
to
gets
be able to
confused.
like do this to them. But you can just like you can hug your friend and that's fine. But no, I want to not to like digress, but I think that yes, find that one person, have that one person, connect with one person enough to have that bond.
Yeah.
But with many people,
No.
it is difficult. And also, I feel you should, as a person, I understand more because, and this is not compared to a lot of people's tragedy, I guess, because my grandmother was older. But when my grandmother died, on the day she died, it was horrible for me when I got the call because I'm very far away from her, and I couldn't see her. And a lot of people, like some people were calling me that evening because I was in the forest that day. It was a tough day. I went into the forest partly because I knew that this call was going to come and I wanted to just avoid it as much as I could. I was in the forest and I was laughing with my friends. It was a fun day. And then I came out and the calls came in and other people called me just like
Wow.
generally. And when I spoke to my sister and she told me and I spoke to my other sisters. I wasn't able to speak to my mother yet. Other people, like I told them, and they wanted to talk, but I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
So I told them, okay, I don't know what I feel now. Just this is big for me, but they wanted to talk, but I didn't want to talk to them. But I was with someone who just sat there, and that was fine. He's my friend, and he just sat there, and that was just enough. And we were eating, and we ate and we talked about other things, and that was enough for me. But
Yeah.
other people I told who are also my friends, I didn't want them to say anything. I just told them so they would just leave me alone for a moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you had no expectations, like.
yeah, exactly, of them because I don't know. I just feel like I cannot put that on another person. Or
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't want to get it from some people.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't know if that makes any sense. Oh.
It
I
does.
don't
It
know if
does.
that really makes
Wow,
sense.
amazing. Thank you for sharing this. You know, we are over time, but I would love to maybe keep that discussion for next time, talking about um, this topic. There are some other things that he covers in the podcast, how to overcome loneliness, what you could do, and it could be a topic for next time.
No, no problem. I'm game,
Yeah.
as usual.
I'm what?
Game.
I'm game. What does that
Yeah, yeah.
mean? I'm up for it?
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. I really love our discussions. I love how open you are. Yeah,
I
it's
hope it makes sense. I fear sometimes that what I say does not make any sense.
it makes total sense. It makes total sense. Yeah, yeah.
Right. But I also enjoy our conversations a
Thank
lot.
you, Daniel. Thank you. So I'll remember not telling you anything sad about my life.
Oh.
Otherwise, I'll have an I'm sorry my heart, from the bottom of my heart. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding.
I know, but sorry is usually like
It's enough.
it does carry weight
Yeah,
sometimes.
it does. It
Yeah.
does. No, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I was
Yeah.
kidding.
I know.
So have a great day and we'll talk
Thank
soon.
you. Yeah, talk soon. Bye.
Yeah, bye bye.